Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Singapore-based jazz pianist and composer Cheryl Spencer. We got into her new 2022 CD, Serendipity in Venice. She grew up in a music-centered family, and her late father was a pianist and music educator previously from the Vienna Conservatory. Her natural love and inclination towards music was evident at a young age as she developed a great ear and could play the right notes on any musical instruments despite not having formal training. She was always connected with her first love in music and draws inspiration from masters like Kenny Barron, Coy Tyner, Oscar Peterson, Chick Corea, and the great Herbie Hancock. Enjoy this story.
Hey, hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Great.
So you're in Singapore?
Yes. Have you been here before?
No, I never have. I would love to. So thank you for taking a minute out today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on your Neon Jazz channel.
My pleasure. So before we get into Serendipity in Venice, I want to know, especially where you're at in Singapore, how are you doing now that we're coming out of COVID, and how did you do during COVID?
Well, I graduated from my jazz degree, right? Like, right at the beginning of COVID. So, it's like, it went into famine mode in Singapore. And we weren't allowed to perform, and everything was like isolation. So it was tough. It was very tough. But I kept the band positive. So I have my own band in Singapore. It's called Evolution Quartet, which I formed like a year before COVID ended. So we were actually very united. So I arranged for like weekly rehearsals in my house when the social distancing rules were like more relaxed in Singapore. Yeah. How was it in the U.S.?
Well, it's actually getting better. Here in Kansas City, we got a pretty good jazz scene, and things have been picking up, and it's good. Yeah, everything's kind of getting back to what we've all been somewhat used to prior to COVID. But from my end of things, it's so good to see musicians releasing material, because for so long we'd have conversations about, just surviving what we were going through. So how good does it feel to be able to have Serendipity in Venice? How does it feel to have a new album coming out?
Oh, we were so excited. So actually this album, the drummer Sasha Martin,
yeah,
and I have been talking about collaborating even before COVID. So we were supposed to record like my album together, like a collaboration, and then COVID came, right? So then we couldn't record. There's no way. So then I mentioned to him that, well, maybe I should come to Russia in 2022 to record with all the musicians in Moscow. And then the war came. So the timing is just hasn't been very good. But I must say Serendipity in Venice was a miracle, that we actually got together, that we finally managed to collaborate and record this album. So we are really excited because there hasn't been much, like you said, recording material and collaborations between artists across different continents and countries over the last 3 years. And even if there was collaboration, it was mostly done through audio sound engineering, sending each other files. But to be together in a recording studio in Venice, it was just phenomenal and epic for us. It was actually very emotional as well. It was joy and as well as a lot of reflection, and we were very grateful to be together.
So, are you originally from Singapore?
Yes, I am born here, and all my life.
Well, I guess that's my next question. I know that you've had a lot of influences, but what is it about not only your household, but where you were in Singapore that gave you this love of jazz?
Oh, my father was a classical pianist, but he listened to jazz classics at home. And then actually I was heavily influenced by my sister, who used to listen to a lot of jazz. So I must thank her, and I just fell in love with this genre. And as well as the local scene in Singapore, we have a group of forward-thinking musicians in the past where they used to play jazz, and I would go watch them perform live. I just really enjoy this genre of music. I just connect to it very deeply.
The one thing, too, I'm curious, we are influenced quite a bit by the live music that we get the chance to see. What was the first live jazz show that you remember that really moved you?
The first live jazz show?
Yeah.
I would say, okay, so we have our local jazz pianist in Singapore. We call him the King of Swing, Jeremy Montero. So I used to go to all his concerts, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the quartet or the quintet that he plays with, I found it very inspiring. And then you had different groups of musicians where they play like different, maybe more modern jazz or more swing kind of style. So I just soak it out in the jazz bar in Singapore. And then when I travel with my family, I enjoy concerts in London very much. And you get to see a lot of great artists like Herbie Hancock. I saw Dave Brubeck in London. And then in New York, of course, it's just great jazz at Lincoln Center. So I actually seek these concerts, or I would travel to Japan to go to the Tokyo Cotton Club, or even the Napa Valley Jazz Festival. So I actually travel to watch these shows.
Jeremy is wonderful. I've interviewed him before on the show, and he is a wonderful person, and the music he puts out is so great.
Yeah, and actually when I first started learning jazz, I took lessons from Jeremy, piano lessons. Those were the early days. And I took lessons from different people in the industry, like Mara Serial as well. And then subsequently, I was so interested in this, the beauty of the jazz harmony, that I had to enroll myself in the university to really understand the harmony.
The one thing I think about sometimes when I speak to people that are overseas is that, we're coming from Kansas City, the home of, Duke Ellington played here, Charlie Parker was from here. There's so many different things that go into our history, but when I think about Singapore and other places that are far away from us, I'm always just amazed at the power of jazz music and how it really is now a global thing. Do you ever think about that?
Yes, and music really brings people together, right? So to record an album in Italy is amazing, and to meet musicians from New York, from London, all over the world, and we all have this common interest, right? So the energy, I feel so inspired when I meet musicians when I travel abroad. And we don't get a lot of artists coming here to Singapore, although it has increased over the years. But I feel like I need to travel to see what's out there and be inspired and just soak it all in.
Yeah. So Serendipity in Venice, what album is this for you? How many have you made before this?
This is my third album.
Okay. So I'm curious, what is it that you try to do on each album? Do you try to capture the time that you're living in, or is it an evolution? How do you view each of these projects?
Okay, so the first album is titled Reflections, right? So this was the very first album that I recorded, and it's the beginning of my composition journey. And I decided, like, I love Coy Tyner's quarter voicings, and I just find his music so beautiful, when he plays the sound. So in this album, I wanted to incorporate the quarter voicings. And at the same time, I also enjoy bossa nova, and I try to compose tunes that are close to my heart. But I particularly love rainbows. I feel that it brings me happiness. So I felt like I wanted to write something happy in a bossa nova style. So hence there's this tune called Rainbow. And in that album, it's actually very special for me as well. I recorded a tune called My Papa. So before my father passed away in 2015, he said, I think you should pursue jazz because I feel it's something you love and you have a flair for it. So off I went and immersed myself in jazz. So this album is actually very close to my heart, so I dedicated it to my father, late father. So it was more like a very personal experience. So even when I performed it at the concert hall, the audience, they felt the love for my dad and also all the different tunes. I played a medley of tunes. So the first album, I would say it's a reflection. Why reflections? Because it's a reflection of my musical journey.
I'm curious, every day you wake up, you get the chance to live this life that you want to live as a musician. But as a professional musician, what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What do you look forward to the most?
Actually, I look for, number one, I enjoy composing. I enjoy bringing music to touch people's hearts. And number two, secondly, I enjoy interacting with my supporters and people who like the music. Sometimes they drop me a message or email. And at the concerts, it's very nice to have a rapport with your audience. For you to actually meet who are these people who actually love and support your music. So I'm very grateful because for their presence, because if they didn't buy the tickets, I wouldn't be there. This is what I enjoy most, and I think life is, the time we have here is so short, and I especially enjoy the friendship I have with all the musicians that I have worked with, to get to know them better, because I believe when we play music at that level, there's very deep communication. There's unspoken understanding. You do not need to say anything. The music itself actually speaks a lot.
So have you played in America?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any plans now that everything's opening up to get over here and play?
Yes, actually, I will be traveling to New York in December for the whole month.
Wonderful.
So maybe I could do some performances or get together with some other musicians to make music. And I would like to actually visit the recording studio that mixed my music for Serendipity in Venice, Dave Darlington. So it would be nice to see the studio and visit him.
Are there any places in New York you want to go to, like the Vanguard or anything that has been on your list of things that... Yeah.
I saw Kenny Barron, I think in 2019, 2018, before the COVID, at the Vanguard. So this time I've bought tickets to Jazz at Lincoln and to Busy. I started buying all my concert tickets already this week.
Wonderful. Good for you. That's great. That's really great. So Very simply put, why do you love jazz?
When I listen to jazz, my senses are awakened. I just feel so wonderful. Like the harmony, it just makes me feel very alive.
I love that answer.
Yeah, I can't even explain. I just feel alive instantly when I hear jazz. So happy, and I'm so thankful to embark on this.
So you've mentioned some, really good concerts that you've seen and that you're going to see. But let me ask you this. If you could go back in time and see any jazz musician anywhere, who would you love to have seen live?
I would love to see Miles Davis live. I would have loved to see Coy Tyner. And I still feel very upset because I think in 2001, I was supposed to watch Coy Tyner, but I had an engagement in Singapore, so I flew like 1 week later to New York and I missed the concert. And then shortly after, he was not in good health. So that is one of I did not take that bucket list. So, yeah, I would love to watch Coy Tyner. I would love to watch Drew Garlington.
Absolutely.
Written so such amazing work, such clever ideas. I would love to see Drew Garlington, Miles, Coy Tyner. So many. The list go on. Got John Coltrane. Perhaps even meet like Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. So I'm curious with Serendipity in Venice, when someone buys or downloads this album, what do you hope they get from this album? How do you hope they feel?
Oh, well, this album is like a celebration of life. So why Serendipity in Venice? Because after what we all went through during COVID, for me to be in Venice to record with Sasha Martin, Makar Novikov, Alexei Biagin, and Robert Bonizzolo, it's serendipity for me at the highest level. Like, I'm just so grateful. And I also wanted to share with my audience the fun side of me, my listeners. So I love handbags. So there's a tune in there, like Afro-Cuban mixed with swing, and it's called Dreaming About Bags. It sounds so. It's a fun tune, and it brings me happiness when I listen to it, and it was really fun recording it. And did you ever watch the movie Cinema Paradiso?
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah. So one thing my family and I did during COVID was I made my children watch all the classic movies with me.
Yeah.
They watched like all the Godfathers, the Rockies, Cinema Paradiso, The Postman. So I made my kids watch it. And I enjoyed the movies so much, to watch them again now that I'm older.
Yeah.
I kind of appreciated them in a different way. So then I said, hey, since I'm recording in Italy, I'm going to do a reharmonization of Cinema Paradiso.
That's wonderful. I need to rewatch that film. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's so deep and a lot of reflection, and the music is so good.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad to fulfill this bucket list. I've always wanted to record Cinema Paradiso. So Robert Bonizzolo is the main feature on this tune. Since he's from Italy, he took the melody and the improvisation. And the next tune, Voyage, in the recording, is a drum composition that I wrote. It's written for a drummer, actually. So Sasha Martin did a great opening, great solo, and the tune moves through many different textures to different sections. The structure changes. And it's very exciting because the energy from his drumming and virtuosity of his drumming skills. It's just wonderful on this whole album.
Speaking of this album, let's get to the good business here of you said it's coming out on the 18th. Where can people ideally buy it or stream it and find out more about you and any kind of shows that you're going to put on?
Okay, you can follow me on my website. It's CherylNSpencermusic.com. I have all the streaming links on my website, and I have my concerts and my performances on the homepage as well. And I give you an overview of the album. The liner notes will be there. So you can find me on Instagram as well, and Facebook, Cheryl and Spencer _official.
Wonderful. Cheryl, this has been wonderful. Thank you for opening up. Good luck with the album and the return to the stage and on your trip to New York. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview. We give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Singapore, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Cheryl for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.